Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to episode 108 of Word Ninjas Live. I am Charles, your regular instigator of creative and literary insanity. And joining me tonight are Justin.
Cheers.
And Calvin.
I have no beverage with me.
Oh.
Cheers? I don't know. As I hit my mic.
That'll be fun to edit.
Not my job.
All right. We're coming to you this week to talk about juggling creativity while also having day jobs or just regular responsibilities. Things that tend to get in the way, but are also useful because paychecks are handy. Not all of us are lucky enough to be able to do creative endeavors as a full-time job. Someday. We're working on it. But in the meantime, we thought we'd discuss just how does the crew handle juggling day jobs while also handling creative endeavors, and then just in general, we'll kind of branch it out from there. Would either of you like to lead us off, or shall I kick things off?
I'll start things off.
Have at it.
Yeah, Calvin, you of all people now should be able to answer this question sufficiently out of everyone in the group.
Let's see. What do I do? Let's see. I have my 9 to 5, which is IT. I'm the entire IT department at my job, so that keeps me very busy. I run several websites. I took a slight hiatus to just kind of get my bearings together, and try to get back into it. But I write music regularly. I'm writing a soundtrack currently. And that's all the things I can actually think of right now because I am running on, I think, 3 hours of sleep.
So par for the course for you.
Pretty much. So for me, it's all a matter of it's all about time management for me, basically. It's finding those little portions of the day, or just like dedicating time, just stopping whatever it is I was going to do. Like if I was like planning to meet somebody, which doesn't happen too often these days, but if I'm like, basically weekday plans are out of the window whenever I want to be creative. And it has to be that way or nothing will get done. It's all about prioritizing, like what's more important to you. Hopefully friends and family will still be around after you're done with your creative endeavors, but at the moment, this is what's more important. This has to get done. Like just basically have to get to a point where you're just adamant and stubborn about it. I'm getting this done. Everybody leave me alone. I'm turning off my phone. I'm turning off Skype. I'm shutting down I'm putting Facebook away for the next few hours. I have things to do.
Thankfully, we're all pretty good at the whole being stubborn thing.
Yes. So, go ahead, Justin.
No, it was a poorly timed joke because the mute delay on my microphone.
Oh.
My apologies.
That's okay. But yeah, just prioritizing and like making sure your creative endeavors are important enough to you that you are going to do anything to get them done. Thankfully, I don't have distractions like a wife/girlfriend or children. Uh, take that in any positive or negative spin as you like, but I don't have I those aren't distractions for me. So
You do have a
I
puppy, though. That can be
yeah
distracting.
I do have a puppy, but most of the time when I am in my bedroom, she's in the living room. So she gives me my space whenever, for the most part. But not for nothing, puppy is a good distraction to have every now and then, just to make sure you don't completely lose your mind. And
Hmm.
it breaks the monotony from time to time. So, but with the lack of distractions, this gives me ample opportunity to really focus and try to take care of the 8 million things on my plate.
So I've started to notice that, speaking of 8 million things on the plate, is that I could start something and do it basically forever, whether that's learning Mandarin, whether that's cleaning the house. You know, there's all these general things that you want to do in your life and in your house and in your home and going out and about that literally could just take forever. Like, if I started saying, all right, I'm going to clean the apartment and never stop until it's all clean, well, then you won't see me for 2 weeks because I can find an infinite number of things to do. There's a fish tank that needs to be cleaned out, and water needs to be transferred and recycled, and the walls and the ceiling in the bedroom need to be painted because the last tenant was a heavy smoker, and that's annoying. The bathroom needs to be cleaned. It can go on and on and on forever. And that's daunting because you're thinking to yourself, oh, look at all these important productivity things that I need to get done. Even after my day job, how could I possibly get in some creativity? And the key to that is timing. Yes, you could go on an infinite number of hours doing any particular one task. So set a timer. Do it for an hour and say, all right, I'll do cleaning the apartment for an hour. There's like maybe one or two goals that I really need to get done. Let's say empty the dishwasher, clean the counters, and re-vacuum seal the flour and the sugar. And I could start that train, and then when I'm on that train, just keep going down the train forever. Do the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. But if I set a timer, then I can see, okay, I got the 3 things that I need done absolutely now. And now instead of getting sucked into the world of cleaning the apartment for the next 8 days, I can move on to the next thing, like doing something creative, like maybe start writing. The important thing is to start. And the only way to start is to stop doing all the other things. And to help stop doing all the other things, I suggest setting up a timer of sorts. For weekdays now, I have a timer in my phone built in for waking up, going to work, coming home, podcast, meetings, and then going to bed at a certain time. I'm considering adding literal timers for. Sorry, let me take that back. So those are my alarms, not my timers. I don't recommend setting an alarm to start doing something because you have to maintain a level of flexibility. If I say, okay, at 6 o'clock every night I'm going to do a Mandarin lesson, if I don't get home until 6:30, then I'm totally screwed because it's off my schedule. But if I say the first thing I do when I come home from work is going to be A for 20 minutes, and then B for 20 minutes, and then I can go to bed, then that's fine too. So timing is very important when you're balancing a day job and your regular life.
So I think it's because it's not about money, but we're actually in full agreement on this because I use timers as well and a few alarms. But wait,
I've ne- oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've never used a timer method because primarily because, and it's probably a good idea that I start to use timers because my productivity. I mean, I get stuff done, and I do a decent job at like getting things accomplished, but I get super scatterbrained with trying to remember all the things that I need to do. So like in a given night, I'll dedicate 45 minutes to this website that I'm working on. And then I remember, oh wait, I have an idea for this song. Put the website away. Spend an hour and a half on this working out this idea. Oh wait, I have to go back to this website because I'm on a deadline. Back to the website. Another hour on the website. Ooh, another song idea. But I gotta finish this website. Okay, I'm gonna take 20 minutes, play with this idea real quick. Then it turns into an hour. Like, damn it, back to the website.
It's almost like a combination of tunnel vision, but whack-a-mole.
That's a good analogy. That's exactly what it feels like.
And you don't necessarily need to get a generic tomato-shaped timer that only times out things in 30-minute, 5-minute intervals. Some of you will probably get that reference. But in general, it's important to, when you start something, I mean, you're all carrying your phone with you now. You could even say, okay, Google, set timer for 40 minutes. And then it does it by itself. It takes no effort to set a timer now. I'm not saying you need to set an alarm for every single thing, unless it's literally time dependent, like the podcast, for example, which is what helped me remember that after the Labor Day weekend, oh, today's Wednesday, not Tuesday. So that was a little bit of a screw up today. But thank God I had that alarm. And tomorrow when I do some stuff, I'll set a timer and say, okay, I'll work on this for 30 minutes. And I may have to start doing that with video games. And I may have to tell my friends, no, I can't play Rocket League for 4 hours today. I have to actually get something done. And that's going to be sad because I just bought a new graphics card.
That's what I've been doing for Game Break now. I use my phone, and I just set the timer so that I can see how long I've been playing. So then I know, okay, it's almost 25 minutes. I need to find a good transition point so that I can wrap up this episode and then keep going because I'm trying to do 2 episodes per recording time now.
Yeah, you can use a stopwatch instead of a timer if you're not sure how long you want to spend. But it's good to be at least self-aware. Yeah. Cognitive dissonance is the evil bastard that lives inside of all of our brains. And not paying attention for even a second can send you off the rails in spiraling out of control.
Let's see. What did I write down in my notes? Oh, yeah, I also do 50 billion things. I have my full-time day job, which is more of an 8 to 4 than 9 to 5. But I also dabble with Fairy Tale Podcast, OTP Manga, Fairfield County Writers Group, NaNoWriMo ML, other distractions. All of that, plus trying to start up a company, work on my own novels, work on company stuff. Time management is important. It's the only way any of it even remotely gets done. Although in my case, most of that starts getting delegated. But creativity can't really be delegated. That's kind of on your own. So I try to delegate some of the non-creative or non-personal creative stuffs. Because I'm allowed to do that. I'm the boss man. Not everyone has that possibility.
I've turned my work day from a 9 to 5 to 7 to 7, including travel time. So I basically have an 11-hour day at work. A 1-hour break for lunch brings that to 10 hours, which gives me 2 extra hours, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, where I can be productive on something non-work related. And it doesn't always happen at even 2-hour intervals because I have customers and whatnot. But when I get a chance and it's 9:30 and it's time for me to do something productive, then I'll generally try to do something different for an hour. And that's been working out really well. In the mornings, half the time I go out running, half the time I do some writing. And then in the afternoons, usually I do something productive, like something educational. So I definitely stretch out the work week for that purpose. The other thing that's really helped me is leaving the house. Nothing makes me more productive on creative endeavors than just leaving the house. Setting up shop in your local cafe or your 40-minute drive, but it's a beautiful drive, so you don't care, away. And just setting up shop all day, open up a tab, and just go at it. And I got a lot done this Labor Day weekend because I spent literally the entire day on Sunday at a local coffee shop. And I dragged the wife along with me because she had a lot of stuff she needed to get done. And I said, if you don't come with me now, you're not going to get any of this done until Monday, and then you're going to complain that you don't have enough time. So let's go. So we went, and we got a lot done. And I actually got stuff done on the website. Those that are on my website saw some updates. I did some stuff for the business plan for what's coming in the future, and so you just heard a little bit about that. And I just did a bunch of stuff. I didn't do any writing, unfortunately, because I had a backlog of other important stuff that needed to get done. But I switched it up. I did website stuff. I did personal stuff. I did CJ stuff. Well, it was well-rounded. And I did research for what I wanted to do with the novel. So it wasn't a complete bust.
Nice.
But get out of the house. Go to a library. They still exist. In many towns, they still have a library.
And some of them are actually very nice, too.
You could go there. You could, you know what? I'm writing this fantasy novel, and it's kind of based on, Asian mythology. If only, I'll just go on Wikipedia, I guess. No. Go to the library and pick up some books. They usually have a lot more information than a simple Wikipedia article. And they'll usually be, books about people that have actually gone there and seen the ceremonies. And they're usually, there'll be a book called Chinese Culture, and it'll be, 200 pages long. So you've got plenty of research material there. Go to the library. Go to the coffee shop. Go sit outside if it's a nice day out on the picnic table. Laptops have batteries. You can handle going outside for an hour and not necessarily being close enough to the Wi-Fi for it to be useful.
And the nice thing about libraries is, at least around here, most of them have cafes now. So you can still get your caffeine fix, and they do tend to have computers that you can use if you don't bring your own. So you can still get online resources as well.
Now, that there is something I don't really do too much. Like, most of my productivity is either at this desk or in my bed over there.
To be fair, you do live in a major city.
That is true, but on the flip side, being that I live in a major city, there are coffee shops out the wazoo. But unfortunately, I live in a neighborhood that does not have very many coffee shops, so I'd really have to go out of my way to find one, which is really sad. I actually have to get on the train to actually go to a coffee shop. That sucks.
I'm not suggesting this for you, but I was talking to somebody from Australia, and they were doing their college homework. They're at a bar because they can't. Coffee does stuff to them. They don't really like coffee, so they're actually at a bar and they grabbed a beer and just started working on their homework, doing stuff on the laptop. I mean, they weren't getting blasted. They just had one beer, happy hour. Enjoy. There's other places besides coffee shops that have seating available. Go to a nice sandwich place. Go to a Panera. Gina and I go to Panera all the time.
Again, Subway. I'd have to take the subway to find somewhere that I can go. Unless if I had a bicycle or my own set of wheels, I'd probably get out of the house more. In fact, I would get out of the house more because I'd have a reason to and the means to. and the desire to.
You say that now until you start driving in the city, and then you're going to be right back to, you know what? I'm not going to take the car out in that mess. And then you got to find parking. You're just like, no thanks. I'll just take the subway.
That's where it's good to know like the quiet neighborhoods with nice coffee shops and things like that.
Well, if you want a bicycle, I still have my death trap downstairs.
No thanks. I remember that thing. No. No thank you. I enjoy living.
You don't want to be heard from like 3 blocks away?
God, the sound that thing made was nightmare fuel. But you do raise a good point. Like getting out of the house and finding creative time outside of the house is actually very rewarding. I've actually done that a couple of times, like after work. I wandered around, ended up in Williamsburg, found a coffee shop that also sells whiskey, and parked myself there for a couple of hours and worked on a website. It's really nice.
I'm glad to know those exist because that's actually my dream when I retire from the engineering world is to open up a coffee whiskey bar. So there's a market.
Yes,
Good. Noted.
There is a market. Like, people who enjoy coffee also enjoy whiskey, and there's a cross section of that market. There you go. There's a cross section of that market that likes them both at the same time. So, I mean, by all means, I encourage you.
I mean, that's an Irish coffee, right?
There you go. Having your choice of coffee and whiskey. That's why I like going. That's why I like going to that place. I need to go back there.
Well, I don't really do this much anymore. Last year, there's a Starbucks in the same parking lot shopping center place as my day job. So I would just walk around the corner, and there's a coffee shop, and I would hang out there for a couple hours and do work. Either write or sketch, or just distract myself for a while. I'll probably end up doing that sometimes during Nano, just so that I actually do Nano writing. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
It's interesting how much of a distraction the house can be.
And not even just like, oh, I can switch over to the couch and play video games, but there's so much to do in the house, like clean the room, do the laundry, all the stuff I was mentioning before. Oh, you know, the floor in this room could use some vacuuming. I should probably do that. You know, it's so easy to get distracted.
For me, a lot of times, like getting home, like going to my bedroom, that's very much of an energy drain. Also due to the fact that it's really hot in here, and the ceiling fan does very little for me. So, like, the energy drain that happens when I get home is very counterintuitive, and so, like, I have to, like, focus 3 times as hard to get things accomplished. So, like, getting out of the house really is a good idea, and I'm disappointed in myself that I haven't thought of that before.
You're too busy multitasking.
Gotta add, go
That's
outside
true.
to the whiteboard.
Yeah, the whiteboard. Oof. The whiteboard could use an update. I can see it right now. Get out of the house. I should put that right dead in the middle. I think I'm going to do that.
So some trends that I see between the 3 of us are time management and prioritization seem to be key in regards to actually balancing day job or just regular obligations and creative endeavors that you like to do.
That's that seems to be the key for this group here. But it makes perfect sense. Got to find the time, got to find the drive, got to do whatever you can to make it happen.
And
Nobody
each
else is.
time, oh, go ahead.
I was, I was gonna say nobody else is gonna motivate you to get out your ideas.
God knows that's true.
Mm. So what were we gonna say?
No, I can't remember.
No.
Oh, yeah, I remember. And every time you work on something, even a little bit, it reignites that spark that's fading. That's why it's important to start and switch it up. Because as soon as I started updating the website and dealing with all the bugs and the CSS code and the shorthand code, I fixed it all up and I was like, oh yeah, I have a website. And now I'm like, oh, let's upload the writing prompts that I worked on the last couple months. Oh yeah, writing prompts. And then I started going on. I'm like, now it sparks some creativity. So switch it up. I'm not saying multitask. That's different. Never multitask. Focus, but focus on different things at different times. Maybe that's multitasking.
I feel like multitasking is doing multiple things simultaneously rather than consecutively.
Right. Or switching back and forth between two things very rapidly, which I don't recommend.
That's me.
Unless they're similar enough that your brain can easily balance the two, or one is passive enough that it doesn't take much effort to keep rolling.
There was something I wanted to add, but it just escaped me right now. This is gonna bother me. And I was on a roll too. Oh yes, I got it. Kind of going along from what Justin was talking about. He was working on his website, and he realized, hey, website, ding. Like just kind of a domino effect of motivation. Like I'm getting ready to start working on another website, and I came to realize if this website is going to work, I have to make sure that it's got to be a responsive website. So that made me realize, hey, I have like 5 HTML/CSS, HTML5 CSS3 courses on Udemy that I really should take a look at. And so that prompted me to brush off my Udemy login and to get into some of these courses because they're going to be very useful in the coming months. So it's just an interesting domino effect. It's a very interesting domino effect of of like realizations and more ideas. So I like when that happens.
Yeah, that's something that I would also add on to what counts as productivity or creativity. Learning. Learning does count because learning gives you new ideas and new abilities to create and actually put your ideas into some tangible form, even if it's digital. Because I know up until last year, I didn't think I could draw. And some days I still think I can't really draw. But I've been looking at books, I've been teaching myself, I've been trying and practicing, and I'm slowly figuring it out, which gives me a new outlet for creativity and all sorts of new ideas. So learning still counts as productivity and creativity. So if you're in school or there's something that you want to learn, still go for that by all means. That can still count as productivity or creativity because it's a long-term investment.
Be your own entrepreneur.
Yes, boss.
Calvin just went hilariously out of focus.
I'm not sure how he managed that.
I don't know either.
Neither do I. Um,
Well, your hand's in focus, ironically. That was actually really in focus. There we go.
there we go. That's better.
It wouldn't be a podcast without technical difficulties.
Hmm.
Yeah, be
All
your
right.
own entrepreneur, be your own cheerleader. And
And if
maybe,
possible, surround yourself with like-minded or like-styled people.
Nah.
so they can be your cheerleaders.
No, but I don't want to gloss over Calvin's recent comment. Be your own cheerleader. I really like that, and I have to do that more often. I'm
Not
going to take
horrible
that to
with that.
heart. You don't suck, it turns out. You may not be the best, but no one's the best. That's why we strive to be better all the time, always learning, always growing. Be your own cheerleader and save the world. Wait, no, that's a different thing.
Save the world through your creativity.
And being your own cheerleader.
Sure, perfect.
Well, save the world one person at a time, starting with yourself, by being your own cheerleader. Because if you can't even save yourself, how are you going to save others?
That's a good point. A point that I've been like that's one of the things I've like really been learning this year. Like to be my own cheerleader. Like I've spent too many years being my own worst enemy.
Been there, done
And
that. Not advised.
yeah, I'm tired of that. I'm I'm looking for happiness now. I'm looking for various outlets to find happiness, find my creativity, find my stride. So it all starts within me. So I just have to continue to remember that, and that's something we should all remember and never forget. Be your own cheerleader. Be your own number one fan. You'll be very surprised how much motivation can come from that. Just that little tiny bit of belief in yourself, you know.
Yeah, belief in yourself goes surprisingly far. Just as I'm blanking on the opposite terminology for belief in oneself, but lack of faith in oneself is just as detrimental to your creativity, or just as powerful, just in a detrimental way.
It can be detrimental in many ways. Detrimental to your creativity, your motivation. Uh, shoot, just everyday things in your life. Just things just kind of like if you don't like if like lack of faith in yourself really hinders you as a person oftentimes, and like especially like if you're a creative person, that's the worst possible thing you could do is to not believe in yourself, like hinder yourself in any sort of way possible. So don't do that. That is my suggestion to the world. Please take that advice.
And it is very prevalent amongst creative people, because how many people do we personally know in the creative world that have had self-doubts or slowed their endeavors down because they weren't sure they could pull it off?
We all do. It's understandable life can get in the way sometimes, but it's not a reason to just let things go completely. Like, don't let things like it's all right if something causes you to like take a step back from your creative endeavors. And yes, it is oftentimes difficult to get back into it, but you have to get back to it. If it's something you desire, something you believe in, something you want, you have to get back to it. Getting back into it is a challenge, but it's definitely worth it, the challenge. Life is no fun without a challenge.
Before we got on that whole roll, I was going to ask if there were any uh, key points that we wanted to say to wrap up this talkie point, but then we went on a roll, which is good.
I think we've not exhausted this territory, but have explored it enough for now, and we can think more on what we've learned today and come back later with even more tips, tricks, and thoughts.
I'm with you on that one. I've basically said like the main point. I've made my main point. Be your own cheerleader. Make like if your creative endeavor is something you want to believe, something you want and something you believe in, make the time wherever you can to make it happen. That's the TLDR version of what I had to say.
Yeah, from my end, it would be just keep learning and practicing and growing, because, like Justin said, there is no best. There's always room to grow and become better.
And I would just share that recent Shia LaBeouf video. Just do it.
As ridiculous as it was, Shia LaBeouf really has a great point. Just do it. You just got to do it. I wonder how many people he actually motivated with that video.
Even if it was just one person, it works.
I spend a lot of time online. It has motivated thousands of people.
Nice.
Then mission accomplished. All right, with that, we are going to move on to the weekly highlights reel with all sorts of interesting news pieces and articles and yet another bundle of books because a new one came out today. Which means
this bundle, foreshadowing, I may have to get. I don't see a world in which I do not purchase this.
Oh my. Well, before we get to that one, let's get on to screen share. The first piece of news is actually a scientific article, so apologies for the very dense reading ahead of you if you choose to look at this. But it was a very interesting article, at least to me, in that they did sort of a study on theoretical drugs that could help affect various psychological aspects, including specifically creativity. Now, I know some of here on here, like sociability, mood, and memory retention, stuff like that. There are already drugs out there, some more effective than others. But what made this interesting to me, beyond just a drug to inspire creativity, would be intriguing. But then there was a breakdown of would people actually take this or not, and why. And there's a full breakdown of like what would the primary concerns be, or would it be about safety, the ethical or moral complications of taking such drugs? Religious concerns, I think, were relatively minimal on some of these, just because I think most religions have never needed to cover such concerns. And like social pressures to fit in, like if you need to be at the top of your game, would this give you an unfair advantage, blah de blah. And it gives you the full breakdown of responses amidst their sample size and all that. It is a very dense read and probably not for most people to get through because it is very dense in data. But it is fascinating and it raises some very interesting questions in regards to if there was medication out there or just some sort of extra little thing that you could take to inspire creativity that was over the counter or prescribable, would people take it? And what would concerns be in regards to society and all that? I feel like that would make for a really interesting short story almost. I might play with that actually later this month once I prioritize some time for it. The next piece is over on the Atlantic. The danger of being neighborly without a permit. I know at some point or another we've talked about the little free libraries where people put up basically a little birdhouse size box, usually on their land or on a nearby tree, fill it with free books. And it's kind of like the whole take a penny, leave a penny concept of people can borrow the books as they please and put their own in there if they so choose. And it's a nice little community builder concept and helps people read. Apparently, because bureaucracy is a thing, a fair amount of these little free libraries are coming under fire because there are zoning complications for putting something up like this. I don't fully understand why something the size of an oversized birdhouse with books complicates zoning, but
So zoning is one thing, and there's another which I'll get to in a second. But the big issue with the zoning is that it's considered an unattached piece of property, and that's a big no-no in a lot of places. And there's a lot of rules as well, and depending on where your community is, those rules can vastly change. For example, there's limits to what size shed you can have before you need a permit, and that shed is usually barely enough to hold a rake and a shovel. And if it's higher than like 4.5 feet, you need a permit all of a sudden. So a lot of these people are putting up these mailbox-sized things without a permit, and the issue is you probably shouldn't need a permit for something so small and innocuous, but unfortunately you do, and people like to complain. I mean, there's people that are out there that go out of their way to find things to complain about. And if they see something that they consider an eyesore, then they're going to want it taken down. You're talking to the people that want to take down windmill farms because they can see them 300 miles away on their mansion estate. So there are people out there that want to ruin everything. And do they have a right to complain? Sure. And is it technically against the state and county laws? Maybe it is. But it looks like, at least it was the one case that they're focusing on in this article, zoning laws are being rewritten to kind of allow these smaller structures. They're going to be very specific, and they may still require a permit, but the permit might be free, and it might just require an inspector to run down real quick on his daily route and check it out.
Yeah, I feel like this falls under one of those weird laws that was created a fair while ago and is no longer properly relevant in its old context because it didn't cover things like this, because things like this didn't exist when those laws were created. I feel like they need to update some of those accordingly so that there's not a gray area.
Now, I don't know how much this article touched on it, but there's also something even more diabolical. And that's when the town starts complaining because they have a library that no one's using, and everyone's instead using these books. These little free libraries. And so people are complaining about unions and how, you're not allowed to do the work of somebody else if they're in a union. They're supposed to be the ones doing the work. And there's something similar going on with some libraries in some districts where the libraries are actually putting up a huge stink because they get budget depending on how many people use the library at any given time.
I don't remember specifically if it covered that
Yeah,
aspect.
I don't remember it being in this article
I
specifically,
don't
but
think
I
so.
went on a rampage and found other articles and stuff that was even more dumb.
Hopefully they can update the zoning laws to allow for such detached little places.
Unfortunately, the policy that they end up writing to allow these is going to have to be very, very specific because if you start allowing this, suddenly you're allowing other things that could be considered, booby traps or, harmful to people walking by or even like, you know, something literally, eye offensive and, there's all
Yeah.
sorts of things. It's just
Yeah.
weird that the illegal unattached structure probably covers those cute little garden bridges that people put in their garden to make it look like there's like a little covered bridge or a little what do you call it, an arc bridge.
Yeah.
That's probably covered as well.
Yeah.
So
This.
it's a
I feel
shame
like
that these are getting the treatment. You would think people would turn a blind eye to this kind of thing, but I guess not.
nope. Yeah, I feel like this is going to create a small precedent in the laws when they tweak the zoning. So hopefully they're able to cover it in such a way that it's not just going to become a bigger headache for everyone involved.
And there's interesting reasons to have a permit like that. Because somebody could put up a little free library and then not build it correctly, and suddenly you get a pressure treated splinter and you have medical bills all of a sudden. There's reasons why these zoning laws got put into place, and there's reasons why we don't allow people to just put a bunch of random shit all over their property. Uh, and it's for the safety of other people. And generally, I would say if it's in your backyard, it's fair game. But this is kind of in the front yard, and you're actually sharing this space with random passerbys and luring them in. So I can see where some people are concerned. I don't know if people should be, upset and enraged and immediately call the state council, but there is reasoning behind it. It may not be perfectly sound, and there's work that can be done to kind of meet a middle ground. And I hope that that's what they do instead of just banning all free little libraries.
Yeah. And I would point out that at least around here, the whole whatever's in your backyard is fair game is not always true. Like if you have an in-ground pool, you need to erect a fence or a barrier of some sort around that, regardless of if you have children or not. Because if anybody happens to walk through and falls in, or if animals come through and fall in or whatever, it's on you. So even in your backyard, there are potential problems. But mostly because of safety concerns. All right, next piece up. We talked, I believe it was last week, about the whole Judgy website and how you can judge books by their covers based off of their Goodreads scores. Well, apparently they've managed to get 3 million judgments already, which is pretty impressive. And they were able to do a bit of a breakdown as to just how people judge book covers.
And that was as of several days ago when I linked this article, so it's probably even doubled since then.
And they gave a nice little image, click to enlarge, of all of the books that were in their sample. So there are a fair amount. So when you play the game, it is randomized, and this one gives you the whole breakdown of what the Goodreads score was versus what people scored it as of this whole compilation. And it's interesting to see which ones kind of aligned, which ones were very far off base. Apparently, people actually thought that the cover was a lot worse than the book for Twilight. And I know, apparently, regardless of the randomization, you still get Domino's Angels in the first game. Apparently that was preset. Apparently people really didn't like that cover, but people liked the book. So that is why you should not always judge a book by its cover. Sometimes what's in it is a lot better than what the cover art happens to be. And it is. I think it'll be interesting over time just how this data plays out and if they can add more books to it and keep it going. And apparently they learned that most people judged it in scores of zero point 0.5 ratings, so like 2, 2.5, 3, etc., even though Goodreads allows for zero point 0.1 decimal point ranks. So very few people went like 2.4 or 3.2, stuff like that. That apparently was just a self-imposed limitation that they did not dictate. People just kind of took, or people just assumed. And apparently the second worst rated book cover was Domino's Angels, which was the first book that most people saw in the game, but the worst book cover was Justin Bieber, His World. Or at least as judged, just based off of the book cover. Which is a pretty big margin of error considering people rank the cover as a 1.4, but the Goodreads score for the book overall is a 4.4. And basically nobody gave a book a 0, just based off of the cover. Which is encouraging. So people are willing to give almost anything a chance at the least. So overall, very interesting to see how that data played out. Next up, over on The Verge, a library has obtained a collection of over 10,000 little zines, or like little micro magazines, and they're working on digitizing them so that they can be preserved for the future. Because the old school zines were just made on kind of scrap paper and very high acidity paper that was just on hand. So they don't really last forever. They're not really built for durability. And they're working on digitizing it so anyone can read it. And a lot of these have short fiction, flash fiction of some really well-known authors like H.P. Lovecraft, Bradbury, Heinlein, all the greats. So I hope they're able to pull all that off because between the paper that they used and the ink style that they used, you can't just like take some flash photography and digitize it or necessarily put it on a flatbed scanner and do it that way. They have to be very careful because just like with old school paintings, the more light that is shown on it, the quicker it degrades. So
The artwork on these covers are extremely intricate and fun too.
yeah, a lot more intricate than I would have expected for the time. And I'm kind of intrigued as to the stories within them. So hopefully it becomes a uh, what's the term? Hopefully they open it up to everyone, so it's not going to be behind a paywall or anything. But across 10,000 zines, there's a lot of content amidst there. And they're actually hoping to gather more zines from other collectors and collections so that they can create an even bigger database of zines that have been digitized and preserved. So hopefully they're able to pull this off, because I would love to read some of those. That would be a lot of fun. And last up is a new book bundle over on Humble Bundle. of Neil Gaiman rarities. So not just the main stories from Neil Gaiman that you're probably all familiar with if you've read him, but a lot more rare stuff that you may not necessarily have been able to read or obtain in the past because they were out of print. And as usual, these bundles are set on different pricing tiers. You have the pay whatever you like, so $1 and up tier, you'd get 5 books. You pay the rolling average of at the time, which is currently $18.34, to get the next tier, which is 4 books. No, 9 books. 8 books. I can count. 8 books currently. They add more as the bundle goes on before it runs out of time. And if you pay $15, you can unlock the 3rd tier. Usually the rolling average is below the 3rd tier pricing. This one's kind of an anomaly. But if you were to pay $1 and up for this bundle, you would get Adventures in the Dream Trade, which are essays, poems, lyrics, and original American Gods blog. So if you've read American Gods, this would be a fun one to get. And that is a fantastic book. You'd also get Gods and Tulips, a controversial 1993 speech, an essay, and a speech on comics. You'd get Free Speeches, which are speeches by Neil Gaiman, Frank Miller, and others. Being an account of the life and death of the Emperor Heliogabalus, which is a 24-hour comic. And Angels and Visitations. And some of the titles within have never before been republished. It is the first collection of prose fiction, non-fiction, and poetry. Very cool. If you happen to pay the rolling average, you'd also get Ghastly Beyond Belief, which is rare and never before republished. So it must have gone out of print a good while ago. You'd also get Day of the Dead, which is a Babylon 5 script from Neil Gaiman. Very cool. An Honest Answer and Other Stories, which were collaborations with Brian Talbot and Dave McKean. You'd also get Feeders and Eaters and Other Stories, which includes a comic about Alan Moore. It's a collaboration with Mark Buckingham. Sweeney Todd and Other Stories, Lost Unfinished graphic novel with Michael Zulli. Nice. You'd get Neil Dreams, short comics by and about Neil, done by and with Rick Veitch. Also, 7 Deadly Sins, controversial 80s comics anthology including Neil Gaiman and Alan Moore. And Outrageous Tales from the Old Testament, controversial 80s comics anthology including Alan Moore, Dave McKean, and Dave Gibbons. And if you went for the 3rd tier, which is just $15 or more, you'd also get Duran Duran, rare and never before republished debut book. Manuscript found in a milk bottle, which is never before reprinted short story with new introduction. Love Fishy, poems by Neil and Maddie Gaiman. And a little gold book of ghastly stuff, which is currently out of print otherwise. It is a collectible book of short fiction, essays, and poems. And if you happen to be subscribed to Humble Bundle, you would get a free issue of CBLDF, Defender number 1. So overall, a really cool bundle with a lot of interesting stories amidst it all, some of which would be very hard to track down otherwise. This one just kicked off today, so as of this recording, you have 13 days, 17 hours and change. So definitely go check it out. And as always, the links to all the things we talked about in this segment are linked in our show notes over on fcwriters.com under the Word Ninjas live page for episode 108. And with that, enough of me monologuing. Let's go to the Productivity and Inspiration station, where we talk about various personal highlights from the last week. And I'm actually going to skip myself rather than monologue more and go straight to Justin.
So now you can hear all the crickets in the background. So a lot of the stuff I already talked about, but I'll run through the list as a quick refresher. Started actually developing a real business plan for us moving forward. I don't know if there will be more on that soon to be publicly available, but CJ will definitely get privy to that pretty soon.
Yay, I get spoilers.
Yep. I wrote out an actual task list for things I need to do, which is a lie. That was a thing when I was writing these show notes, the thing that I was immediately going to do after filling out these show notes and then immediately forgot.
Oops.
So I still need to do that technically. I updated the website CSS and fixed all the tags and the bugs. Yes, I went through all my posts. I went through all the CSS, all the coding, checked a bunch of factors, and cleaned up the site a lot, which is it really desperately needed for people that were using it not as just part of their Tumblr feed, but actually using it as a real website. A lot of work needed to be done. There's still work to be done, but it's very usable and doesn't look awful when you just go to the website proper. I did a bunch of housework and the yard work. I bought a new weed whacker a few months ago and hadn't used it yet, so I went out and started weed whacking things. And then I saw a wall of poison ivy, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to weed whack anymore. I think I'm done. I've developed a new student loan payment plan in which in 2 years, hopefully I'll have the majority of my student loans all gone.
Nice.
It'll probably more realistically be 3 years, but 2 years is a pretty good goal.
Hey, progress is progress on that.
Yeah. I bought a new video card for better recording, and at least that's what I told the wife. It's actually for better video games. But it's also for better recording. I can run games at higher frames per second and all the graphics turned on for the game break videos. And I was inspired when I drove down to the local coffee shop, which is 40 minutes away, not really that local, but it's pretty much a single road, more like 2 roads, but very quiet roads. And it was a Sunday, Labor Day weekend. No one was on the road. No one in front of me, no one behind me. I could just drive. And I love doing that, just driving on some wooded road. And it was freshly paved,
Nice.
and there were lines on the pavement. It was great. So I got inspired and awoken by the drive.
I missed that driving time when I went out. It was every single person who probably needs to take a new driver's test just as a refresher course, because they're not exactly the best anymore.
And if you're driving an old country road and you see no one in front of you and a line of cars behind you, and you're occasionally getting passed, feel free to pull over on the side of the road for just like 60 seconds and let everyone go through and then go back on the road. I actually did that at one point. There's a pickup truck that was impatient with the person in front of me, so he took another side road. And I was like, oh, I guess he's going that way, so he won't have to deal with me anymore, and the guy in front of me. And then eventually the guy in front of me left, and it was just me driving, and then that same exact pickup truck ended up behind me again. And I was like, you poor bastard. So I'm going to pull over and just let you go first. And then as soon as I pulled over and let him go first, he took the next right. And I was like, well, I don't know if he really noticed that I pulled over for him, but I don't care. I'm just glad I didn't have anyone behind me anymore.
No, my driving fun was more cars coming from the other direction, ignoring the fact that it was a 2-lane, 2-way road, and just driving right in the middle to the point where I had my anti-lock brakes kick in, which is always fun.
I'm not sure which is worse, that or the people that think that the 1-lane road that they're on is a 2-lane road.
Those can be dangerous.
Speaking of which,
Didn't do it. And what has Calvin been up to since last week?
I've been doing more website coding. I thought I was going to be finished with this project, but nope, not yet. Still at it, but the client is still happy with progress, so she's happy, I'm happy.
Hooray!
Let's see. Oh, this was fun. I took an actual honest to God trip to the beach in Asbury Park for Labor Day. And this was the first honest beach trip I've taken in about 15 years.
Dang.
So I'm feeling pretty great after that trip, even though I'm pretty sure I might have caught a little uh, stomach related situation while I was down there. Still worth it though, because it was fun. And if you've never been to Asbury Park, do yourself a favor, like take a day trip and go down there. It is fun. It's beautiful. A lot of great places to go. A lot of nice bit of musical history down there. So yeah, Asbury Park, go. Even though the summer is technically over, there's still, I'm pretty sure there's still plenty of uh, good summer days left.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the weather, but it is definitely still summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still a good time to go. So by all means, if you can, go now. If not, go next summer, or during the spring, or the fall.
Or do what
So
I
from
did this winter and go to the beach in the middle of winter, and then wonder why your face is being sheared off by ice crystals flying at 50 miles an hour, and wondering why you pulled into a massive parking lot and you were the only car.
It's kind of how I felt when I took a bus trip to Atlantic City one time. It was in the dead of winter, and it was freezing. Still a lot of fun though, even though the boardwalk was beginning to ice over. Still enjoyed myself. Just had to walk very slowly. Let's see what else has been going on. So I've been. I think I mentioned last week that I started driving lessons. Did I mention that last week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I did. Okay, I forgot. That is one of the many plans that I've been formulating to uh, pick up a car that a family member of mine is planning to give me. So I need to be prepared for this, both with my license, which would be nice. Though in the state of New York, you don't need to have a license to own a car, but it's good to have if you want to drive it.
Hmm.
So that's a thing I have in the works. Not sure when it's going to happen, but probably excuse me, within the next couple of months.
Hooray!
Oops. Ah. Oh no. Oops. Ah, crap. Give me 1 second.
What did you do?
I hit the wrong button and switched the source on my one of my monitors.
Oops.
It was the monitor that the show notes are in. Oopsies.
You only have one other bullet point on there.
Yes, and that bullet point is I've been paying off my laptop since I purchased it last year, and I as of today, I got the balance under $1,000.
Yay!
So that's pretty exciting. I don't know about anybody else. Paying less money for things is nice.
Indeed.
Yes, I wouldn't know anything about that.
So, yeah, I say good things are happening.
As for myself, I got an opportunity to become a co-writer on a new project that I'll learn more details about tomorrow, hopefully, which is really exciting. I'm hoping that works out because that would be a lot of fun. Not that I'm already doing enough things anyway, but what's one more? And I spent most of or a good portion of the weekend helping in the ongoing war against the dolls, which was an adventure, because helping clean out a house that was full with a lifetime's worth of stuff is challenging. And apologies for those out there who have issues with dolls, but I'm about to put up an image of a very creepy doll that
Oh, Lord!
that the thing about this doll, all three of those faces are on the same doll head.
Oh, is it a three-headed doll that you twist?
It's a three-faced doll head that twists.
And one of them's crying.
One of them is crying.
And
One of them
is
has
not pleased.
a Twilight Zone smiley face on it. And the other one is just sleeping for now.
Or so we choose to believe.
Yeah. And it also came with a little sound chip as well for the body.
Ugh,
Really?
the worst. Just stop.
That one definitely won as creepiest doll during cleaning. So
Be the first to like this, not a single person. Fitting.
we're going to get 50 thumbs down because of that image.
I'm thinking about logging in just a thumbs down.
Good
But
grief.
yeah, that was a thing that happened. But
You should write a short story about those dolls.
Nope. You should not.
But amidst all the battling of the dolls, I actually also got to go to the Goshen Fair, which was fun. Because animals and food and fun and entertainment. And a book tent.
Now, you mentioned this book tent. Were there any books up for sale?
All of the books in the book tent.
Now, you came to that event with how many books?
None.
And then you left that event, I presume, at some point.
Eventually. Because
How
we had
many
to get dinner.
books? How many books did you have at that time?
I left with one book, which I technically did not purchase. It was gifted to me.
But gifted to you as an elaborate ruse to get me off your back?
No, I actually didn't realize that Sharon had bought it for me until we'd walked out and she thrust it in my face.
I think I told her my hate of you getting books. So I think this was all an elaborate ruse, pre-planned. I'm calling collusion.
But it's a book on writers and their houses. 50 essays by preeminent living authors on the literary masters of Great Britain and Ireland.
Ooh, that actually sounds fun.
Yeah, and it was only $1.
Oh, well, never mind then. I take it all back. You realize you do have to throw away one of your books now, though. As is the rule.
Can I donate it to a library instead?
Yes, fine. Or you could, I don't know, read it. You know, some people buy books and then read them. I don't know if you've ever done that before, but...
Is that my next bullet point? Hey, that's my next bullet point. I have officially scheduled my first proper vacation since high school, in which I'm actually going to spend time just reading by a beach.
Nice.
because I think I mentioned it on a previous episode of the podcast, but I haven't taken a proper actual vacation since high school. All time off that I've taken from my day job has been for mission trips where I was an advisor usually, or for conventions, or because I'm sick, or various other reasons. I've never actually taken a proper vacation with no obligations or expectations since high school. So I'm about due, since that was in 2003. Sadly,
Yeah,
this doesn't come until Columbus Day weekend, so it's still about a month away or so. But it is scheduled, it has been reserved, it is a thing that is happening.
it still counts.
Let's see. I also got a blog post published at work again today. Finally. I got bumped 2 times in a row because other things were just more timely. But it should finally be up today, so yay! Actually getting to write and get things published, even if it's at work. And
Still
something that...
counts.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, still counts.
Yep. I got to banter about how Google's alphabet shenanigans are changing things.
Did you talk about their new logo at all?
No, mine got bumped because of that logo.
Uh,
People have opinions on it.
We all do.
Do you also have opinions on Verizon's new logo, which was released the same day?
I do. It
We can-
reminds me. Oh,
Go ahead.
okay, we can talk about it another time.
I was going to say we can probably chat about that off air.
Okay, let's do that then. But I have opinions about it.
And the other piece that I put in in the show notes was something I've been pushing for, at least for myself, is to get a better buffer on content. So I've managed to record all of my September videos, and only 2 of them need a little more audio editing before I can export them and upload them. Which means that going forward I can start getting ahead on October stuff, so hopefully I can get several weeks of a buffer in time for Nano, so I'm not completely overloaded in November.
That logo is atrocious.
Oh, did you look up Verizon?
Yes. First of all, you can't square a square root symbol. That cancels it out. So, don't know why you would do that.
Because marketing.
Okay.
And something I've been bad about this episode, in regards to the talkie point for our viewers and listeners, post in the comments how you handle your productivity in regards to your full-time day job obligations and whatnot. And post in the comments, what have you been up to since last week? How have you been productive? What have you been up against? Have you been battling dolls as well? And up next, events. Hartford Comic Con is not this weekend, but next. It is coming up fast.
Panic.
It is.
And I did pull out the triangular tube with our button display and banners. So that will be coming with us.
Hooray!
So that's the next one coming up, and it is the last one for the year for us. And as much as I really wanted to go to Brooklyn Book Festival, it's the same weekend. So hopefully next year we'll be able to coordinate things so that we can go to that as well, because that's always been a fun time.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not in the cards for us this year. And next year we're already scheduled for your Minicon and Kineticon in January and July, respectively. So if you want to meet us in person or buy any of our shiny baubles right off of us, come to a convention we're going to. Come say hello.
Right out of our booth. not right off of us.
Well, I don't know. For some of us, we do have buttons right on our badges as we're walking about.
Yeah, but we generally have copies. You could probably just go to the booth.
If you want to do it the easy way.
I do. Yes.
And hey, with that, that's a show. That's all we have for you lovely people for this week. As always, if we happen to have entertained you in any way, shape, or form over the last hour and a half or so, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can check out the entire backlog of our Word Ninjas live show, our Game Break series, event shenanigans. I believe some of our Inconceivable stuff actually went up today, if I'm not mistaken.
2 of them.
What went up
And,
today?
opening ceremonies and RJ and Karen renewing their vows with the help of Rusty and Sal.
And for those who are not familiar with who those are the coordinators of the convention. And if you want to talk to us on social media, you can track us down on Twitter at FCWordNinja, or over on Tumblr, fcwordninja.tumblr.com, or on Facebook, facebook.com/fullcoveragewriters. And you know how we mentioned we have shiny baubles at conventions that you can buy at our booth? Well, we have an Etsy store for those of you who can't make it to the conventions or just want to see what options may be available to you. If you were to go to etsy.com/shop/fullcoveragewriters, you'd be able to see all of the shiny baubles we have to offer. From buttons to bookmarks to writer's kits to writer's blocks and all sorts of other shiny baubles. Go check it out. See if there's anything that piques your interest. And if you want to track me down, your best bet is still Tumblr. It's the one that I vaguely check the most often at this point, fancypantswolf.tumblr.com. Where can people track down Justin?
As usual, you can find me for now mostly at mechanicaljustin.com with the new, shiny, barely different website that now has other posts on it.
And where can people find Calvin?
Your best bet for the moment is Instagram, which is CCWII, and Tumblr, which is instacal.tumblr.com.
And with that, thank you all for joining us for episode 108 of Word Ninjas Live. Tune in next week where we're talking about something. I keep forgetting to bring those up, but I know we still have another couple of weeks worth of talking points in the queue. I think it was different resources for formatting your writing, from like novels to scripts to articles and stuff like that. I think that was next week or the week after. But hey, if there's a talking point that you want us to discuss or a question you want us to consider, by all means, send us what you want us to converse about via email or hit us up on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, whatever you prefer, and we'll add it to our queue. But in the meantime, it's time for us to head out and go do creative shenanigans because time management. So until next Wednesday, go be creative, go be productive, go have some fun. Until next time, everyone. Greetings and salutations, viewers and listeners. Welcome to episode 108 of Word Ninjas Live. I am Charles, your regular instigator of creative and literary insanity. And joining me tonight are Justin.
Cheers.
And Calvin.
I have no beverage with me.
Oh.
Cheers? I don't know. As I hit my mic.
That'll be fun to edit.
Not my job.
All right. We're coming to you this week to talk about juggling creativity while also having day jobs or just regular responsibilities, things that tend to get in the way, but are also useful because paychecks are handy. Not
From
all of
time to
us
time.
not all of us are lucky enough to be able to do creative endeavors as a full-time job. Someday, we're working on it. But in the meantime, we thought we'd discuss just how does the crew handle juggling day jobs while also handling creative endeavors, and then just in general, we'll kind of branch it out from there. Would either of you like to lead us off, or shall I kick things off?
Uh, I'll start things off.
Have at it.
Yeah, Calvin, you of all people now should be able to answer this question sufficiently out of everyone in the group.
Let's see. What do I do? Let's see. I have my 9 to 5, which is IT. I'm the entire IT department at my job, so that keeps me very busy. I I run several websites. I writing new like am well. I took a slight hiatus to just kind of get my bearings together, and try to get back into it. But I write music regularly. I'm writing a soundtrack currently. Uh, and that's all the things I can actually think of right now because I am running on, I think, 3 hours of sleep,
So par for the course for you.
pretty much. So for me, it's all a matter of trying to. It's all about time management for me, basically. It's finding those little portions of the day or just like dedicating time, just stopping whatever it is I was going to do. Like if I was like planning like say planning to meet somebody, which doesn't happen too often these days, but if I'm like basically weekday plans are out of the window whenever I want to be creative. And it has to be that way or nothing will get done. It's all about priorities, prioritizing, like what's more important to you. Hopefully, friends and family will still be around after you're done with your creative endeavors, but at the moment, it's this is what's more important. This has to get done. Like just basically have to get to a point where you're just adamant and stubborn about it. I'm getting this done. Everybody leave me alone. I'm turning off my phone. I'm turning off Skype. I'm shutting down I'm putting Facebook away for the next few hours. I have things to do.
Thankfully, we're all pretty good at the whole being stubborn thing.
Yes. So, oh, go ahead, Justin.
No, it was a poorly timed joke because the mute delay on my microphone.
Oh,
My apologies.
that's okay. But yeah, just prioritizing and like making sure your creative endeavors are important enough to you that you are going to do anything to get them done. Thankfully, I don't have distractions like a wife/girlfriend or children. Uh, take that in any positive or negative spin as you like, but I don't have I those aren't distractions for me. So
You do have a
I
puppy, though. That can be
yeah
distracting.
I do have a puppy, but most of the time when I am in my bedroom, she's in the living room. So she gives me my space whenever, for the most part. But not for nothing, puppy is a good distraction to have every now and then just to make sure you don't completely lose your mind.
Hmm.
And it breaks the monotony from time to time. So, but with the lack of distractions, this gives me ample opportunity to really focus and try to take care of the 8 million things on my plate.
So I've started to notice that, speaking of 8 million things on the plate, is that I could start something and do it basically forever, whether that's learning Mandarin, whether that's cleaning the house. You know, there's all these general things that you want to do in your life and in your house and in your home and going out and about that literally could just take forever. Like, if I started saying, all right, I'm going to clean the apartment and never stop until it's all clean, well, then you won't see me for 2 weeks because I can find an infinite number of things to do. There's a fish tank that needs to be cleaned out, and water needs to be transferred and recycled, and the walls and the ceiling in the bedroom need to be painted because the last tenant was a heavy smoker, and that's annoying. The bathroom needs to be cleaned. It can go on and on and on forever. And that's daunting because you're thinking to yourself, oh, look at all these important productivity things that I need to get done. Even after my day job, how could I possibly get in some creativity? And the key to that is timing. Yes, you could go on an infinite number of hours doing any particular one task. So set a timer. Do it for an hour and say, all right, I'll do cleaning the apartment for an hour. There's like maybe 1 or 2 goals that I really need to get done. Let's say empty the dishwasher, clean the counters, and re-vacuum seal the flour and the sugar. And I could start that train, and then when I'm on that train, just keep going down the train forever. Do the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. But if I set a timer, then I can see, okay, I got the 3 things that I need done absolutely now. And now instead of getting sucked into the world of cleaning the apartment for the next 8 days, I can move on to the next thing, like doing something creative, like maybe start writing. The important thing is to start. And the only way to start is to stop doing all the other things. And to help stop doing all the other things, I suggest setting up a timer of sorts. For weekdays now, I have a timer in my phone built in for waking up, going to work, coming home, podcast, meetings, and then going to bed at a certain time. I'm considering adding literal timers for sorry, let me take that back. So those are my alarms, not my timers. I don't recommend setting an alarm to start doing something because you have to maintain a level of flexibility. If I say, okay, at 6 o'clock every night I'm going to do a Mandarin lesson, if I don't get home until 6:30, then I'm totally screwed because it's off my schedule. But if I say the first thing I do when I come home from work is going to be A for 20 minutes, and then B for 20 minutes, and then I can go to bed, then that's fine too. So timing is very important when you're balancing a day job and your regular life.
So I think it's because it's not about money, but we're actually in full agreement on this, because I use timers as well, and a few alarms. But wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say I've never used a timer method because primarily because, and it's probably a good idea that I start to use timers because my productivity, I mean, I get stuff done and I do a decent job at like getting things accomplished, but I get super scatterbrained with trying to remember all the things that I need to do. So like in a given night, I'll dedicate 45 minutes to this website that I'm working on, and then I remember, oh wait, I have an idea for this song. Put the website away. Spend an hour and a half on this working out this idea. Oh wait, I have to go back to this website because I'm on a deadline. Back to the website. Another hour on the website. Ooh, another song idea. But I gotta finish this website. Okay, I'm gonna take 20 minutes play with this idea real quick. Then it turns into an hour. Like, damn it, back to the website.
It's almost like a combination of tunnel vision, but whack-a-mole.
That's a good analogy. That's exactly what it feels like.
And you don't necessarily need to get a generic tomato-shaped timer that only times out things in 30-minute, 5-minute intervals. Some of you will probably get that reference. But in general, it's important to, when you start something, I mean, you're all carrying your phone with you now. You could even say, okay, Google, set timer for 40 minutes. And then it does it by itself. It takes no effort to set a timer now. I'm not saying you need to set an alarm for every single thing, unless it's literally time dependent, like the podcast, for example, which is what helped me remember that after the Labor Day weekend, oh, today's Wednesday, not Tuesday. So that was a little bit of a screw up today. But thank God I had that alarm. And tomorrow when I do some stuff, I'll set a timer and say, okay, I'll work on this for 30 minutes. And I may have to start doing that with video games. And I may have to tell my friends, no, I can't play Rocket League for 4 hours today. I have to actually get something done. And that's going to be sad, because I just bought a new graphics card.
That's what I've been doing for Game Break now. I use my phone, and I just set the timer so that I can see how long I've been playing. So then I know, okay, it's almost 25 minutes. I need to find a good transition point so that I can wrap up this episode and then keep going, because I'm trying to do 2 episodes per recording time now.
Yeah, you can use it as a stopwatch instead of a timer if you're not sure how long you want